Harihi Om. Sahana Vavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Sahaviryan Karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So then here we have that. Now they've come to this point of trying to analyze what is Draupadi's position. You know, she's been lost, if Yudhishthira could have lost. So Vidura's pointed out that Yudhishthira couldn't lose him because he was already lost himself. So in this way, then she wouldn't even be counted within this, because if he's lost himself, he can't deal with anything else that's there before. So, you know, now it would be technically, then you would say, reversing on Duryodhana. So then now he can't get any more, you know, happiness or joy out of, you know, Draupadi's a slave aspect. But now he can use the reverse of this. You know, it's just like those who are expert in the market, whether the stock market is going up or going down, they can make money like that. When it goes up, then they do like that. When it goes down, they do short like this. They have their ways to make money either way. So Duryodhana being like that, then he will make his you know, profit or his happiness, you know, out of this situation. He's not willing to, okay, we won it, stop it. He has to squeeze it until there's nothing more to squeeze. And then when it blows up in his face, then he'll say, oh no, look at, we're in a dangerous position. Now what we should do, you know. So it's a mentality where they can only see themselves and only see how to benefit themselves. They don't actually see anybody else here, right? Then he's not thinking about anybody else in the dynasty. He's not thinking about the women. He's not thinking. He's only thinking this makes him happy, and those who support him are his friends, and those that don't are his enemies. So like he's already mentioned, Vidura is just an old man. What do we care for him? Or his old father, or this or that. So he sees that he knows how to follow etiquette when it needs to be done, but in actuality, he doesn't see the importance. He has no value for it. For him, it's just simply what he can get for himself. So Duryodhana looked at the agonizing Pandavas. Then he said, I am willing to abide by the decision of Bhima, Arjuna, and the twins, right? If they can say, was she won or not? He says, but let them declare that Yudhishthira is no longer their master, and I will free Draupadi. But then he's looking at it that she is a slave, but they're contesting whether she is or not. And he's taking, no, she's a slave. But if they will say that Yudhishthira is not their master, right? Because in other words, he breaks up the brothers. So the problem with them is that they have such a strong bond, and it's based on dharma. Well, Duryodhana, there may be some kind of bond or not. At least we see with Dushasana there is. But with the other brothers, we can't really say, you know, how strong it is. But that'll just be because they're brothers. It's not based simply on the religious point. So his idea is he breaks up their relationship, turns them against each other, and then they're not a force to reckon with anymore. So in any case, and to do that, then they must renounce their relationship, anything that's personal, anything that will hurt and cause pain and cause distress, that gives so much satisfaction to Duryodhana. Arjuna retorted, Yudhishthira is certainly our lord and master before he began to play. Having lost himself, let the Kurus decide whose master is now. So he just threw it back in their face. Says, why, what do you mean? He was the master before he started. So, because they can't even answer their own question. All it is Duryodhana. The normal thing would just be, says, he's lost himself. How can he do? He's done. Just like we see Shakuni, that when he lost the kingdom, he says, well, I guess that's it. We're done now. He says, or is there more? And then he suggested Draupadi, or he suggested the brothers. And then he says, okay, that's it. You've lost yourself. So that's it. We're done here. Or is there more? What about Draupadi? So they keep brooding on this thing. They keep taking it beyond the limits of Dharma, beyond the limits of even human behavior, as is pointed out. Later on, then, it's Bhima's pointing out that even those who run gambling casinos and brothels and all that, they'll never gamble their women. So he says even they don't do that. And that's what's pleasing Duryodhana so much, because he's such a sinful person, and Yudhishthira is superior to him, in everybody's eyes because of his religion. So if he can get him to do something irreligious, then it makes him so happy, like that. So you see that there's minimal to find good about Duryodhana. Of course, as is pointed out, then those who are religious and all that, the high-minded people, they'll find that one good thing, and then they'll go on that. But you really have to work hard with Duryodhana to find that one good thing. With Yudhishthira, everything is good. You don't have to work at all. As Arjuna spoke, a jackal suddenly cried out in Dhritarashtra's nearby sacrificial chamber. Right? It means, in other words, where he does his yagyas and worship and all his auspicious ceremony, there's a jackal inside howling. Not there's jackals outside howling. That anyway would cause him a problem. But it was inside the chamber. And what's unique about this is that the jackals and all those things, they were all inside the chamber making that same sound when Duryodhana was born. And it was predicted at that point he'll destroy the dynasty. So here we see is that what was the omen about that bad position of him is happening right now. In other words, he's destroyed the dynasty already. At this point, they're all destroyed. I mean, it's just that branch and root. That's what it says. Mana, not just, here's something will happen to him and this and that. No, everybody will be destroyed. That's what it says. Branch and root. It means there'll be nothing left of the Kurus. After the war, you have the Pandavas. They kill all their sons. So after the Pandavas go, there's nobody left. There are no Kurus. There just are none. Like that. So Parikit's the only one left. So it only continues because of their line. But Duryodhana tried to destroy everything, and then we see Ashwatthama. Then he also continued and tried, and he thought he's doing a great job, a fabulous job. So that's the difficulty, is that the sinful mentality can never see where they're wrong. As Arjuna spoke, a jackal suddenly cried out in Dhritarashtra's nearby sacrificial chamber. Asses brayed in response, right? So the jackal is there. Since when do asses bray in response? But when asses bray, that's considered inauspicious also. And fearful birds cried in all quarters of the sky, like vultures and all these birds of prey, like that. Seized by anxiety, Bhishma and Drona cried out, all peace. Vidura urged the king to do something before total disaster overtook them. Right? It means they're already on the brink. It's just a matter of now, somebody sneezes and the whole dynasty falls over the edge. Dhritarashtra at last accepted that things had gone too far. He had remained silent long enough. Raising his hand, he silenced the assembly, which was in chaos because of the evil omens. The blind king said, "O wicked-minded Duryodhana, wretch, you are already as good as dead now that you have insulted a wife of the Kuru chiefs in this way, especially the Pandava's wife, Draupadi." Because he knows the Shastra and all that. See, he's actually a Rajarshi, Dhritarashtra, but because of his attachment to his son, that bad association, then in connection with his son, he makes all bad decisions. But if his son wasn't bringing these things up, they would never happen, because he has been properly trained. So that shows association, and bad association can distract you. Attachment can distract you. Dhritarashtra knew that they now faced grave danger. If he did not appease the Pandavas, then united with the invincible Krishna, they would wreak a terrible vengeance upon the Kauravas. The king attempted to console Draupadi. "O Panchali, please ask from me any favor you may desire. Chaste and always devoted to virtue, you are the foremost of all my daughters-in-law." Right? So immediately, chaste and devoted to virtue, foremost. But Duryodhana, he says, "Oh, wicked-minded Duryodhana, wretch, you are as good as dead now." Right? So he knows what's going on, but because of attachment, his son is happy, it makes him happy. Draupadi looked up at Dhritarashtra, who had said nothing while she was being persecuted. She knew he only relented out of fear, right? She knew that it wasn't that he was just now being gracious and all this and that, but out of fear that if they don't do something, something will happen. But she's smart. You can say, no, but this is not just. We want our, no, don't do that. Here, still this was her opportunity to rectify the situation. So she says, he's offering it, take it now while it's there, because otherwise if you leave it after a minute with kings, you never know where it'll go. That's the thing. You never know how it'll work with kings. She bowed before the king and said, O best of the Bharata race, if you desire to do me good, then free Yudhishthira from slavery. He is the father of my son, Vidyā. Let not speak of that boy born and raised as a royal prince, as if he were the son of a slave. Right? So, free Yudhishthira, she's not trying for anything big. Right? So she's just saying, like this, like that. Dhritarashtra replied, Blessed girl, it shall be so. Ask for another favor. I am not satisfied with giving you only one boon. Then also free Bhima, Arjuna, and the twins, along with their chariots and weapons, because she knows if they have that, everything will go okay. She didn't ask for the kingdom or anything. Dhritarashtra again granted the favor without hesitation. Then he asked Draupadi to request a third boon, right? Because these are quite small compared to what happened. This time the princess said, O king, greed destroys virtue, as we see with Duryodhana. I dare not ask a third favor. Indeed, the scriptures ordain that a Kshatriya woman may ask no more than 2 boons. My husbands, being freed from slavery, they will be able to attain prosperity by their own virtuous acts. So they're not slaves. They have their weapons. They have their chariots. They'll be prosperous. They don't have to worry. And she said that a Kshatriya woman, she doesn't ask more than 2 boons. So we see is that's the standard. Brahmin girl, yes, you can give, many, many boons. But for a Kshatriya, then you want to see, because otherwise she said, is that then the greed goes and then it just goes beyond what it should be. And so we see is that Maharaj Dasarat had given 3 boons to, who was it? Kaikeyi. Like that. She took 2 at that time and then kept the 3rd one, right? Because she's technically only entitled to 2. So she kept the 3rd one. But you see, the 3rd one basically destroyed everything. Because it sent Ram to the forest, her husband died, Bharat, and that disowned her. And so then for the 14 years that they were out and all that, then she was on her. She's in the palace and that, but her sons wouldn't talk to her. They're not there. Her husband's dead. That's why no 3rd boon for Kshatriyas. Karna broke out laughing. Right? They can't just see the grave situation and how Dhritarashtra is intelligently trying to save the situation. Because, just the sinful mentality clouds the intelligence. Just see how these great heroes have been saved by a woman. What's the problem? When they were sinking in a boatless ocean of distress, this beautiful princess became the boat of their salvation. I have never heard of such a thing before today. But he should be happy, because when it says that the dynasty will be destroyed, he's one of them. Like that. Bhima flared, but again Arjuna checked him. Desist, brother. Great men never care for the harsh words uttered by inferior men. Even if able to retaliate, they do not take seriously acts of hostility, preferring instead to remember even a little good that their enemies may have done for them. Right? So that's then the higher case. You're intelligent. You don't let them take advantage. But at the same time, as you you just let it all go. That's the thing. Forgiveness is one of the main qualities of the Vedic culture, at least of the Brahmins and that. And here we see as the Kshatriyas who are properly trained, they do that. That's why Karna is, even though he's a Kshatriya, he's doing Kshatriya stuff, and the Pandavas will fight with him. But in their own mind, he's the son of a Sutta because he acts like it. That's the thing. He doesn't act like a high-grade person. Bhima was hardly pacified by Arjuna's words. He spoke in a low voice to Yudhishthira. I shall at once kill all these foes. What need is there for further discussion? Right? It just means now we're free. We're Kshatriya. We can just kill them. O Lord, you may then rule the earth without rival. Right? Bhima repeatedly cast angry glances at the Kauravas, even as a lion looks at a herd of small animals, right? So it's not like he's a lion looking at other, no, he's just looking at small animals and thinking which one to kill first. Arjuna restrained him with appealing looks, placing his hand on his brother's heaving shoulder. Smoke, sparks, and flames issued from Bhima's ears, mouth, and nostrils as he fought to restrain himself. That's angry. You know, people say, oh, I was so angry. This is angry. Smoke, sparks, and flames, right? With his furrowed brows and red eyes, he appeared like a Yamaraj at the time of universal destruction. Yudhishthira embraced him and said, be peaceful, brother. He then turned to Dhritarashtra. O king, you are our lord. Command us what we should do now. Right? Because so even though all this has gone wrong, this is what Arjuna is talking about. Even though it's all that, and when they were small, Dhritarashtra took care of them like that. And, things would have gone nicely, but because his own son, Duryodhana, didn't like them, then he would agree to their nefarious plans. So he's following that same point that Arjuna made. Dhritarashtra replied, go in peace, Ajashatru, right? Means you have no enemies. Though he understands, his son sees Yudhishthira as an enemy. You are full of humility, and you always wait upon your elders. Therefore you are wise. The wise do not remember an enemy's hostility. Right now, he's saying this as it's good. What do you call it? Good instruction, good counsel. But at the same time, he's also saying it to save his sons. So then it becomes taking gold from a dirty place. But it is valuable. Just because he may be saying it for his own sons, it is valuable anyway. It's how you should see. Instead, they see only the good in them. Only the worst of men use harsh words in a quarrel, which his sons and Karna and everyone's doing, while superior men do not react when provoked. Knowing their own feelings, they can understand the feelings of others. Therefore, they always act with compassion, even towards their enemies. Dhritarashtra then begged Yudhishthira to forget Duryodhana's harshness, and to try instead to remember whatever kindness the king and his wife Gandhari had shown him, right? Because they took care and they dealt very nicely. They never dealt badly. Right? Even here, Dhritarashtra didn't deal badly. He just didn't deal, right? Because there's vikarma, which is improper activities. There's karma, which is proper activities. And there's akarma, which just means you do nothing. Right? So he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't do right. Only now, when he was afraid, then he's doing something. He told Yudhishthira that he had allowed the gambling match in order to examine the strengths and weaknesses of his children and the Pandavas. That might be his side also, but at the same time it makes his son happy. The king concluded, in you, Yudhishthira, is virtue. In Bhima, prowess. In Arjuna, patience. In the twins, there is pure reverence for and service towards superiors. Go then, all of you, and live in peace. Return to your own kingdom and keep your wealth. Let there be brotherly love between yourselves and my sons. Be ever fixed in virtue, right? So if he gave everything back, and that there's brotherly love between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and be ever fixed in virtue means never leave that. Then there'll be no fight, there'll be no problem. The Pandavas bowed before the king and then left. They ascended their chariots with Draupadi and started for Indraprastha. The assembly broke up, and all the kings retired to the palatial mansions provided for them by Dhritarashtra. As they left the hall, some of them praised Yudhishthira and others Duryodhana. The blind king was led away by Vidura. As he recalled the heinous wrong committed by his sons towards the Pandavas, and especially towards their wife, he became gripped by fear. Giving them the property could hardly repay the damage that was done by the insult to Draupadi. It means it won't. It'll eventually destroy them. But at least it was a step in the right direction. Bhima would certainly never forget his vows. Right, because he made vows that he will kill the sons. Right, or it means at this point I think he's only said he'll kill Duryodhana and Dushasana. Right, Dushasana will rip out his heart and drink the blood, and Duryodhana he'll kill him by breaking his thighs. That's what he said up to now. And at the first opportunity, he would doubtlessly take his revenge. So that's why he was saying, be ever fixed in virtue. Right. Sighing, the Kuru monarch entered his chambers and began his evening prayers. Right? So then that ends that aspect of the gambling match. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.